Hello, I'm Don Jolly, editor-in-chief of Dagger magazine. It's come to our attention that many people are getting upset about the film Captain Marvel, recently released by Marvel Studios. Now, on behalf of our corporate benefactors at Disney, we have an important message to share with you about this film, and the forthcoming video represents Dagger magazine's official position. If you are upset about Captain Marvel, don't panic. Sit down, take a deep breath, and keep this mantra in mind. Welcome to comics. Welcome to comics. Some of us have been here for a while. Welcome. Part 1, the history of Captain Marvel. So, some of you may be aware that the Shazam movie that's coming out is actually filmed in some ways about the original, quote-unquote, Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel was published by Fawcett Comics in the 40s and the 50s, and the thing about Captain Marvel is he's kind of better than Superman. The stories were better, the supporting cast was better, Billy Batson was more interesting than Clark Kent at that particular point. Captain Marvel is a little boy that can say a magic word and become Superman, which makes it much more elemental and fairy tale-like. It's kind of disconnected from all the science fiction-y trappings of the 30s Superman, and it did gangbusters business. There's a reason why Elvis dresses like Captain Marvel and doesn't dress like Superman. Captain Marvel has a little bit of class, he has a little bit of panache, he's got a little bit of that mythical quality. Great superhero. What did DC Comics do when they saw that Fawcett was sort of improving on their idea like this? They took him to fucking court. They took him to court for a long time, and they caused Fawcett Comics to completely shut down. And then they took the creative teams from those Captain Marvel books, and they put them on Superman. And then you get Silver Age Superman and the whole reinvention that happens there. And that's the way it works. That's the comic book industry. They're not in this business to be your friends. They're selling fucking cheap paper, and they're making a profit on it. And that's a fucking cutthroat business. Now, obviously we've gone through all of this. We're not even talking about Marvel Comics. Marvel Comics had a variety of names. The Marvel was basically an imprint. They were actually being printed by DC when they started in the early 60s, by National Comics. But as the imprint got more popular and as they got the ability to print things themselves, you know, they became a real competitor to DC. And this is in the middle of the 60s. The Captain Marvel name, because Fawcett had been sued into non-existence, the Captain Marvel name was floating in limbo, and there were some guys making a fucking weirdo series about a character named Captain Marvel who could divide himself into multiple body parts and go out and fight crime that way. Literally, Marvel paid him about $5 grand, about $4,500, to just back off and let him have the name. And that's how Marvel gets their Captain Marvel, the Jim Starlin Captain Marvel, the Captain Marvel that died of cancer in the 80s. The particular Captain Marvel that they just made a film about, Carol Danvers, she comes from the late 70s, and she originally gets her powers from the male Captain Marvel created by Jim Starlin in the 60s. But she had a short-lived series in the late 70s. Chris Claremont did some early work on it, so she mostly existed in comics for about 18 years as a ghost inside the head of a more popular character, Rogue, from the X-Men. And that's why Rogue can fly and has super strength, because she's got fucking Carol Danvers Captain Marvel stuck in her head. So for 18 years, this character was fucking just nowhere, right? But I started reading comics again from when I was a kid. I read comics, and then I started up again in the early 2000s, the era of the big crossovers. And this is where Captain Marvel reemerges in a serious way. I remember in House of M, in the alternative reality that was depicted, the Scarlet Witch changed reality so that Magneto was in charge of everything, and everybody had their wishes fulfilled. And Carol Danvers was the most popular superhero in the Marvel Universe. Her whole mini-series was about how she was super popular. And ever since House of M, I've been noticing more and more Captain Marvel series picking up. Not just the one with the recent costume, the one that they adapted into the film that was written by Kelly Sue DeConnick. Like, they did a Captain Marvel revival in the mid-2000s where she was wearing the black bathing suit. They had Captain Marvel in the Dark Avengers, like she was always showing up in these crossover events. Captain Marvel is the superhero. Like, that name is the superhero of the message that the publisher owns these fucking characters. And the publisher is in control. Not the writers, not the artists. If they want something to work, it's gonna work, goddammit. And like, for Marvel Comics, it's entirely about bragging rights. It's like, yeah, we're Marvel Comics, so we've got Captain Marvel, and Captain Marvel's at the fucking center of everything. Because Captain Marvel is the company. Captain Marvel is the official superhero of corporate exploitation. Part 2. Welcome to comics. Now, when I say corporate exploitation, I don't mean the exploitation of the Amazon or the exploitation of the benighted working class. We're talking about the exploitation of so-called intellectual property. In this case, stories. These are powerful stories. That's why so many people buy them, literally. That's why people dress themselves up in like these characters. People identify with these stories. These stories are important. But aside from that, these stories are profitable. They make money. They turn fucking wood pulp into cash. Whatever artistry you want to bring to realizing these stories, in this case, stories of superhuman Avengers, whatever artistry you want to bring to it is fine. If it moves books, good. If it doesn't move books, it won't be tolerated. Except, of course, and people like to point this out about the contemporary comic book industry, they'll keep pushing things that don't sell books. And the truth is that the modern comic book industry doesn't need to, because these characters are being exploited in so many other avenues. They're on television, they're in fucking films, they're in little animated series, they're dolls, they're backpacks, and that is their truest existence. That's the place where they're making money. If the comic books themselves have become vestigial, then that's just more proof that ultimately this is a mercenary, profit-driven enterprise. And of course we all know this, but I think it produces some very interesting effects on culture. Interesting effects like Captain Marvel. Now, people are upset about Captain Marvel for a lot of reasons, but I think the main thrust of the complaints comes down to the fact that they feel that Captain Marvel is being foisted on them, that she's being inserted into this central position in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you know, out of nowhere, because she's just a new character that they're introducing, but they're introducing her as this like very central figure in the whole history of the thing. Or at least that's the sell. And then people are upset that she's like the woman's lib superhero, who she's been since the 70s. I mean, nobody should be surprised about that. But people feel like this is being shoved down their throats a little bit. And yeah, it is. But that's what Captain Marvel is for. That's why there is a Captain Marvel, to remind you who pays the fucking bills. And in this case, that's Disney, the largest entertainment conglomerate in the history of the world. And I say welcome to comics, I'm talking to all you fucking movie watchers, you know? Because film, the theater-going film, whatever that is, Hollywood film, has been taken over by these fucking superhero ideas, and more to the point, by comic book style storytelling. Super fucking serialized, you can't afford to miss a chapter, ultimately under the control of the copyright holder. And their main goal is to get you to buy a ticket for that next issue, that next movie, that next episode. Whatever is going to get you on the hook, they are going to do. And that doesn't mean you have to like it. You can be upset about it. You can hate watch these things as much as you want. You're still fucking filling the theaters. And like, rumors about Disney buying out theaters aside, Captain Marvel's doing okay financially with a 60% male audience. A lot of people bitching about it bought tickets. And, you know, like I said, I was reading comics in the 2000s. You think I liked any of those comics that I read? I liked maybe a tenth. But the company, at that point, both Marvel and DC realized that the quality of the thing, the quality of the book was disposable if you could give people metatextual reasons to buy it. If you've got to understand the next stage of the Marvel Universe, then you'll buy fucking anything. And there is no next stage of the Marvel Universe, because the Marvel Universe is fucking bullshit. None of it is happening. It's not real. And the people who are in control of it aren't the writers or the artists. If you want to be Steve Ditko, you can make as beautiful a piece of art as you possibly can. You'll make the story of the Spider-Man, but then we'll replace you with John Romita, and then we'll replace John Romita, and in 20 years, Spider-Man is going to be espousing everything that you hate. He's going to be a little fucking blowjob. He's going to be a little private school dickwad. And exactly the kind of person who would have bullied Spider-Man in the 60s is going to be wearing that costume you designed, that beautiful costume, swinging around the city. I wrote Steve Ditko about this once when he was still alive, God bless him. And he wrote me back. And he said, that's work I did 40 years ago. I could give a shit what they do to Spider-Man now because I'm doing better stuff. And you know what? He was right. My point is, from the perspective of the people who hold these copyrights, who own this intellectual property, guys like Steve Ditko come and go, but the brand remains sacrosanct. Have you been watching this? They got a sequel to Watchmen coming out right now, being written by Jeff Johns. I just read an issue of it. This is the Doomsday Clock, a couple of weeks ago. And in this issue, they've got Dr. Manhattan on Mars. Gary Frank does the artwork. It's very competent. Fighting fucking Zatanna and John Constantine and the motherfucking Red Tornado and fucking Guy Gardner, Green Lantern. They're all shooting power beams at Dr. Manhattan. And Dr. Manhattan is drawn like he is in Watchmen when he's on the moon, which is to say, he's got his little fucking penis hanging down there. He's got his little battery penis, where Lori said it's like licking a battery. So I know what it's like to lick that penis. And it's in every fucking panel. And they're shooting him with magic ray beams, and he's like, oh, how quaint. This is DC Comics sending you a very specific message, okay? This is Warner Brothers sending you a very specific message. Oh, Dr. Manhattan, no, what are you, oh, you're a metaphor? Oh, dude, you're a metaphor? You've wrapped up in like how American technology has divorced us from the human element and how that's going to be disastrous for foreign policy. Oh, whoa. No, you're not. All right? You're not a metaphor. You're a superhero. You're a Superman. And your costume is you got a little dick. That's your costume. I mean, you know, I don't judge. I just sell the comics. I just make money, okay? I could give a shit. But like, you got Captain Marvel, he's got the Thunderbolt. Ooh, good Spider-Man got the spider. You got the little penis. And that's what all of Alan Moore's like deconstructive work comes to in the end. A blue man with a little penis that belongs to Warner Brothers and will do whatever Warner Brothers wants him to do. Now, you don't need to be totally cynical, but welcome to comics. This is how you make money off of long-form, serialized, endless storytelling. This is how you turn a good story into endless money and eventually a brand that's totally divorced from the story, just a fucking image. A blue guy with a little penis. So they're gonna make this Avengers movie. And Captain Marvel's gonna fly in at the end and save the day. Or maybe she won't, because they'll say that the public reaction is a little bit too mixed, and they'll use one of the many takes that they have created when they assemble these Frankenstein movies. And it'll be a perfect gauge of public opinion. In any case, she's been inserted into the fucking movies. They're gonna keep making movies about her. They're probably not gonna recast it. I mean, maybe they will. But like, she's there now. The conversation's over. And if you are upset that that is an artificial storytelling choice and that it demonstrates the fucking company putting its foot down, like, yeah, that sucks. But that's comics. And now that everything is making money off hyper-serialization, it's practically everything. So, like I said, welcome. It sucks. Don't pay for movies if you don't like it.